Ralph, there's this old expression, absence makes the heart grow fonder. This pertains to you. We have not heard from Ralph Tomaselli's story of the week.
The story is headlined, Deal with Town Slashes BMS Taxes.
Okay.
And the story was authored by Matthew Zabarick. And the story explains that Bristol-Myers Squibb will pay significantly less taxes on their 180 Research Parkway property in the coming year under a new tax appeal settlement between the town and the pharmaceutical company. And the settlement will lower the market value of the property by an average of 42% over 5 years. And of course, that will affect the amount of taxes the town will be able to collect on that property. And I just want one more sentence here from the story, or one more point.
Sure.
Corporation Counsel Janice Small pointed out that the appeal was structured so that Wallingford didn't take what she described as a bigger hit in the first 2 years. And what you need to know about the first 2 years is that the town has already collected that money. So it's a case where the town will not have to give back money.
This story appeared on the front page above the fold.
Right.
The headline across the.
Yeah, it did.
Is it that big a story to you?
I instigated that personally. So
tell me.
I did think it was.
Okay.
Well, first of all, we are trying to put more stories across the fold in general.
Okay.
I think sometimes our front page otherwise looks too equal. I don't think things stand out. And I think because this is the town's largest taxpayer and there are millions of dollars in taxes at stake in the coming years, combined with a very sluggish grand list and reductions in state aid. So that was the thinking on that.
Let's get over to Craig. Craig, you guys discussed this, I guess, in executive session. There was a vote after that to approve the settlement that Ralph just described. Where did you stand on that? What was your thinking?
Well, we met a few times on
Okay.
this in executive session. Janice kept us pretty much up to date on where things were going, and as a good lawyer will do, your pros and cons are given to the client. Ultimately, I voted no. I didn't think that the numbers were good enough, quite frankly. It's a lower tier approach, with a high number the first year, and it's tiered down over 5 years. It's based upon what they're marketing the property for and the fact that they can't sell it at $50 million. So, one would argue that the taxable value is something less than that. It's an unusual property, but ultimately I just thought that the number was not good enough to settle on.
Well, you were outvoted, I think, 7-1 or 8-1 or something.
Isn't that usually the case?
Yeah, it usually is, actually. We may come back to that in a minute. But if everyone voted the way you voted, what would have happened next?
There more than likely would have been a trial. I mean, of course, Bristol-Myers could have come up with a higher number, but our process is such when two parties have a dispute and they can't resolve it amongst themselves, that a gentleman or lady in a black robe is going to make the decision, and that's a trial. So.
And the issue at the trial would have been, generally speaking, the fair market value of the Bristol-Myers property, and the judge would have to decide that.
Ultimately that. I think with this case there were some other issues, which approach perhaps the court could take in coming to that number.
Similar sales, income, replacement value, depreciation.
Very good.
Those kinds of issues.
And because it's an unusual property, and unusual properties don't have a lot of sales, you have problems with comps. Is it replacement value? That kind of stuff.
So I want to get to an example that just using my calculator, as to what this may mean for Wallingford. And the examples depend upon the fiscal year that you're in, because the cost of this settlement to Wallingford depends upon the mill rate. The higher the mill rate, the more dollars are involved. The lower the mill rate, the fewer dollars are involved. And because the mill rates tend to go up as time goes on, the amount of money that Wallingford loses grows. But here's an example. Currently, the mill rate is 28.55. Currently, 28.55. Assuming next year, or the fiscal year that's coming up, but the town council will be debating a budget in April, passing it in May. Assuming it goes up just to 29, which is going to be more than that. So, but if it just goes up to 29 mills, if there had been no tax appeal, Wallingford would have gotten, get your pencils out, $2,922,000. I'm rounding a titch.
Right.
So, if there was no tax appeal, 29 mills, it'd be higher than that, $2,922,000 because of the tax appeal. Instead, Wallingford, based on 29 mills, that's a hypothetical mill rate, is going to get $934,000. It's, again, rounding a titch, it's a loss of about $2 million. And as the mill rate goes up year after year, that grows from 2.1 to 2.3, Let me get back to Craig. Craig, was this settlement a loss for Wallingford? You said you would have voted against it, and you thought the numbers could have been better. Obviously, everyone disagreed with you, but does this rise to the level of being a big loss?
I think it's unquestionably a loss.
And what do you think? What do you think could or should have been the result, if, the way you saw it? I mean, the legal loss.
I'm a fighter, and quite frankly, I would have preferred to see a trial.
Okay.
And let the chips land where they may. I think we had enough information, enough law on our side that I think we would have fared better.
And don't those numbers that you just gave us kind of bear out that a trial might have been?
No.
No.
Not at all. Craig knows, but we don't know. But maybe he'll tell us. Craig knows what the appraisals were. And actually, it's not a secret anymore. It's a big secret at the time. But somewhere along the line, Bristol-Myers Squibb had evidence and expert testimony to back up Bristol-Myers' position. After trial, Wallingford could have got hit for worse.
Less than $900,000?
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
the value
No,
could have gone down
that's-
below it, or else I am confident. I mean, Janice Small, the law department, they're capable people. Shelby Jackson, capable people. But a trial's not a foregone conclusion.
No.
I mean, I'm sure Bristol-Myers had an even lower figure than what was settled on, and if the judge went with Bristol-Myers experts, could have been a greater tax loss. Craig.
That's possible because it would have gone from the 121 million that I believe it was the number, the valuation number, to a number around 50. Let's just say that arguably, if a judge found fair market value was 45,
Yeah.
it's going to go right from 121 to 45, and you're not going to have that cushion.
Right.
I mean, I think that's what Mike's referring to, and he's correct. But I think the number should be higher. And when we met on this prior to that final meeting, I had expressed that the number should be higher.